You built your career by telling the world I ruined your childhood.
The woman's voice came from the back of the ballroom just as hundreds of guests lifted their glasses. On stage, best-selling author Celeste Reed froze beneath the golden lights. The smile she had worn for every camera slowly disappeared. Vanessa Reed stepped into the center aisle wearing a simple burgundy dress. She was 52, calm, and empty-handed except for an old cassette recorder pressed against her chest. "Vanessa," Celeste whispered. "You were not invited." Neither was the truth. Reporters turned their cameras. Celeste's publisher stood up. Their younger brother, Andre, stared at the floor as though he already knew what was coming. Vanessa raised the recorder. "Before they applaud you again, perhaps they should hear what our mother said the night she died." Celeste's face lost all its color. For 25 years, Vanessa had protected her family with silence. But that night, she would discover that her sister's book was only part of the betrayal, and that nearly everyone she loved had helped keep the lie alive. Before we continue, let us know in the comments where you're watching from. We'd love to hear from you. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you never miss any of our upcoming videos. 25 years earlier, Vanessa Reed was 27 and only 6 weeks away from leaving Savannah, Georgia. An acceptance letter from the Atlanta Institute of Design remained folded inside her purse. She had earned a place in its fall program and a partial scholarship. For the first time in her life, she could picture a future that belonged entirely to her. Vanessa had spent years sewing dresses at the corner of her mother's dining table. She could turn ordinary fabric into something that made a woman stand straighter. Her dream was to open a clothing studio under her own name. Her mother, Elaine, believed she would do it. "When you get to Atlanta," Elaine often said, "don't make yourself smaller just because somebody else is afraid of how brightly you shine." Elaine was 49 then. She was warm, proud, and determined to appear stronger than she felt. Vanessa's younger sister, Celeste, was 17, clever and restless, with notebooks hidden beneath her mattress. Their brother, Andre, was 11 and followed Vanessa everywhere. To their neighbors, the Reeds were a close family recovering from the death of their father. Inside the house, however, Elaine had begun disappearing into her bedroom for days at a time. Sometimes she forgot to eat. Sometimes Vanessa heard her crying behind the locked door. On other days, Elaine spoke too quickly, cleaned the entire house before sunrise, and promised the children that a wonderful new life was about to begin. Vanessa knew something was wrong, but Elaine made her promise not to tell anyone. "People already look for reasons to call a black woman unstable," Elaine said. "I won't have them whispering about me, or treating you children like something broken came from something broken." Vanessa kept the secret until the night she found her mother sitting on the bathroom floor beside an open bottle of sleeping pills. Elaine had not swallowed enough to kill her, but Vanessa did not know that when she called an ambulance. She only knew her mother's speech was slow and her hands were cold. Celeste stood in the hallway wearing her school sweatshirt. "What did you do to her?" she demanded as the paramedics carried Elaine outside. Vanessa grabbed her sister's shoulders. "She is sick. I'm getting her help. She told me she was tired." "You're always deciding what everybody needs." At the hospital, Elaine agreed to enter a treatment center in Augusta. A doctor explained that she had severe depression and needed supervised care. Elaine made Vanessa promise to tell Celeste and Andre that she had gone away to recover from exhaustion. Vanessa argued with her. "They deserve the truth." "Not yet," Elaine said. "Celeste is angry at the entire world. If she learns how bad this became, she will blame herself for not seeing it. Please give me time to explain it when I come home." But Elaine did not come home. 3 weeks into treatment, she suffered a sudden brain aneurysm while walking through the courtyard. By the time Vanessa reached the hospital, her mother could no longer speak. Elaine died the following morning. Celeste arrived too late to see her awake. Standing in the hospital hallway, she asked why Vanessa had sent their mother so far away. Vanessa remembered her promise. She also remembered Elaine's fear that Celeste would blame herself. So Vanessa said the sentence that would poison the next 25 years. I made the decision because I believed it was best. Celeste stepped backward as though Vanessa had struck her. She begged you to let her come home, didn't she? No. But you sent her away. Vanessa could have broken her promise. She could have explained everything. Instead, she looked at her grieving 17-year-old sister and carried the blame alone. After the funeral, Aunt Lorraine offered to take Celeste and Andre. She was Elaine's older sister and lived in a large home outside Charleston. Lorraine spoke gently in public, but she had always believed Vanessa was too ambitious and controlling. You have Atlanta waiting, Lorraine said. You have already sacrificed enough. Vanessa looked at Celeste, whose eyes were swollen from crying. Andre clung tightly to Vanessa's arm. She withdrew from the design program the following morning. Vanessa took a bookkeeping job during the day and altered clothes at night. She learned how to stretch every dollar, attend school meetings, cook dinner, and stitch hems after the children were asleep. Her sewing machine hummed past midnight while her acceptance letter remained hidden inside a kitchen drawer. She never told Celeste what she had given up. For a while, sacrifice seemed enough to hold the family together. Andre softened first. Celeste did not. She obeyed Vanessa's rules but interpreted every rule as control. When Vanessa asked where she was going, Celeste heard an accusation. When Vanessa worked late, Celeste called it abandonment. When Vanessa refused to sign permission for an overnight trip because no responsible adult would be present, Celeste accused her of trying to imprison her just as she had imprisoned their mother. Vanessa absorbed every word. The night Celeste graduated from high school, she handed Vanessa a sealed envelope. Inside was a one-page letter. It said, "I will never become the kind of woman who mistakes control for love." By sunrise, Celeste was gone. For nearly 8 years, the sisters spoke only at Christmas and on Andre's birthday. Celeste studied journalism in New York. She wrote magazine essays about family, grief, and surviving a difficult home. Her early stories did not name Vanessa, but the details were recognizable. Andre read one of those articles and threw the magazine across Vanessa's kitchen. "She made you sound like a monster." Vanessa picked it up and smoothed the bent pages. She wrote what she remembers. That does not make it true. Grief changes memory. Andre stared at his sister. "Why do you always defend people who hurt you?" Vanessa did not answer. She did not know how to explain that defending Celeste had become part of keeping Elaine's promise. Years passed, and Vanessa built a quiet life. She never became the designer she had dreamed of becoming, but she opened a small alterations shop called Elaine's Room. Brides came to her when their dresses did not fit. Widows came when they needed something altered for a funeral. Vanessa listened to them all and fixed what could be repaired with patient hands. Celeste became successful. Her articles appeared in national magazines. She learned to tell painful stories in a voice that made strangers feel as though they knew her. When she announced that she was writing a memoir, Vanessa sent flowers. Celeste did not respond. Then, one rainy Tuesday morning, a package arrived at Elaine's room. Inside was an advance copy of a book titled The House Without Mercy. Celeste's photograph appeared on the back. Beneath it were the words, "A triumphant story of escaping the sister who stole her mother, her childhood, and her voice." Vanessa stood behind the counter until her employee, Ruth, asked whether she needed to sit down. The first chapter described their Savannah house. The yellow kitchen curtains. The crack in the second stair. Elaine singing while frying fish on Friday evenings. The second chapter changed everything. Celeste wrote that Vanessa resented their mother's illness and sent her away for convenience. She claimed Elaine had telephoned home begging to return. She described Vanessa refusing the calls and hiding letters beneath her mattress. None of it had happened. Later chapters portrayed Vanessa as jealous, bitter, and cruel. Celeste wrote that Vanessa destroyed her notebooks, discouraged her from attending college, and used Andre to spy on her. The most painful passages were drawn from Vanessa's own words. Years earlier, Vanessa had kept private journals inside a cedar chest at Aunt Lorraine's house. She wrote about leaving school, raising the children, missing their mother, and fearing Celeste would hate her forever. Whole sentences from those journals now appeared in Celeste's book, but Celeste had rearranged them to sound like confessions. Sometimes I wished Celeste would disappear, Vanessa had once written after searching for her runaway sister all night. The book omitted the next line. Then I hated myself for thinking it, because losing her would finish what losing Mama began. Vanessa called Celeste. Her sister answered on the fifth ring. You received it, Celeste said. Where did you get my journals? Silence. Did Aunt Lorraine give them to you? This book is about my experience. Those were my words. Your words confirm what I lived through. You cut them apart until they said what you wanted. Celeste's voice hardened. For once, the world will hear the child you kept silencing. Vanessa closed her eyes. I never silenced you. You sent our mother away, and she died alone. That is not what happened. Then tell me what happened. Vanessa opened her mouth, but Elaine's frightened face returned to her, the promise, the shame, and the desperate request to protect Celeste. Even after 25 years, Vanessa could not force herself to expose the secret over the telephone. I can't explain it this way, she said. Celeste gave a bitter laugh. Because there is nothing to explain. Then she ended the call. Within 2 weeks, The House Without Mercy became a bestseller. Television hosts praised Celeste's courage. Readers filled Vanessa's business page with angry messages. One night, someone painted the word monster across the front window of Elaine's room. 3 brides canceled their appointments. Ruth offered to remove the shop's name from the door. Vanessa refused. It was our mother's name, she said. I will not hide it. Andre arrived that evening carrying a hammer and several sheets of plywood. He covered the damaged window without speaking. When he finished, Vanessa asked the question she had been afraid to ask. Did you know about the book? Andre kept his back to her. Celeste interviewed me last year. Vanessa felt the room tilt. What did you tell her? I told her you were strict. I told her we were scared after Mama died. I said you sometimes cried in the laundry room because you thought we couldn't hear you. Did you tell her I gave up Atlanta? Andre turned around. His face answered before his mouth did. No. Did you tell her I worked 2 jobs? She already had a story in her head. I thought if I cooperated, I could make it fairer. But you never warned me. She made me sign an agreement. Vanessa looked at the brother she had raised. An agreement mattered more than I did? Andre's eyes filled with tears. I was afraid you would make me choose. So you chose without telling me. He reached for her, but Vanessa stepped away. That was the moment she understood the book was not Celeste's betrayal alone. Aunt Lorraine had surrendered the journals. Andre had given interviews. Other relatives had supplied photographs and stories. Each person had offered one small piece of Vanessa's life, assuming somebody else would consider the cost. Celeste's national book launch was scheduled for the following month at the Bellwether Hotel in Atlanta. The event would be streamed online. The invitation described it as an evening celebrating every woman who survived being silenced. Vanessa had no intention of attending. Then Aunt Lorraine came to the shop. At 76, Lorraine still dressed as though every room were waiting to judge her. She placed her handbag on the counter and glanced at the plywood covering the front window. This has gone too far, she said. Vanessa did not look up from the hem she was pinning. It went too far when you opened my cedar chest. Those journals were sitting in my attic. They were not yours. Celeste needed answers. So you gave her my pain and let her sell it. Lorraine's expression tightened. Your silence created this. Elaine should never have placed that burden on you. The needle stopped between Vanessa's fingers. You knew? Lorraine looked away. I knew Elaine was receiving treatment. She called me from Augusta. For several seconds, Vanessa could hear only the clock above the fitting room door. Celeste asked you if Mama begged to come home. She was grieving. And you allowed her to believe I refused those calls. You had already made yourself the center of that family. Elaine trusted you with everything. The children ran to you. Even after she died, you were the brave one, and I was merely the aunt who visited. Vanessa slowly set down the dress. The truth was smaller and uglier than she expected. Lorraine had not acted from confusion. She had resented Elaine's trust and Vanessa's position in the family. Did you tell Celeste those calls happened? Vanessa asked. Lorraine said nothing. Did you invent them? I told her Elaine wanted her children. That was true. That was not my question. Lorraine opened her handbag with trembling hands and removed a small cassette recorder wrapped in a faded scarf. Your mother asked me to give this to you after the funeral. I could not. Vanessa stared at it. For 25 years? I told myself it would only make things harder. You told yourself that because it made what you did easier. Lorraine pushed the recorder across the counter. Celeste's publisher knows questions are being raised about the book. If this contains what I think it contains, you should hear it before the launch. After Lorraine left, Vanessa locked the shop. She sat alone beneath the fluorescent lights with the recorder in front of her. Her finger hovered over the play button. For years, she had imagined hearing her mother's voice again. Now she was terrified of what it might say. The tape crackled. Then Elaine spoke. Vanessa, if Lorraine has kept her promise, you are listening to this after I have come home. I hope we are sitting at the kitchen table laughing about how dramatic I was. Vanessa covered her mouth. Elaine's voice was weak but clear. I need you to know that you did not send me here. You saved my life. I asked for treatment because you gave me the courage to admit I needed it. And if Celeste is angry, let her be angry with me. Do not carry this for me. You have carried enough. There was a pause, followed by a faint breath. Tell Celeste I read every story she left on my nightstand. Tell Andre his train drawings are in my suitcase. And Vanessa, go to Atlanta. Make the dresses. Build the life you keep postponing. Loving us should never require you to disappear. The recording ended. Vanessa remained in the chair until darkness filled the shop windows. Her mother had released her from the promise 25 years earlier. Lorraine had hidden that release. Vanessa had surrendered her future to a silence Elaine never wanted her to keep. The grief that rose inside her was different from the grief of losing her mother. This was grief for the woman Vanessa might have become, and for every year she had mistaken self-erasure for love. The following morning, Andre returned. Vanessa played him the recording. When it ended, he lowered his head and wept. I should have defended you, he said. Yes. He looked up, surprised by the firmness of her answer. I'm sorry. I believe you. But being sorry does not repair what silence helped destroy. Andre wiped his face. What are you going to do? Vanessa placed the recorder inside her purse. I'm going to stop disappearing. The night of the launch, the Bellwether ballroom glittered with chandeliers and camera flashes. A giant image of the house without mercy stood behind the stage. Hundreds of guests listened as Celeste spoke about finding freedom through truth. Andre sat in the third row. Lorraine had not come. Celeste's interviewer leaned forward. If your sister were here tonight, what would you say to her? Celeste looked directly into the nearest camera. I would tell her that silence no longer protects her. That was when Vanessa spoke from the back of the room. You built your career by telling the world I ruined your childhood. Every face turned. Vanessa walked down the aisle. Her legs trembled, but her voice did not. You were not invited, Celeste said. Neither was the truth. The publisher hurried toward Vanessa, but Andre stood and blocked his path. Vanessa stopped several feet from the stage. You wrote that Mama begged me to bring her home. You wrote that I refused her calls and hid her letters. Tell everyone where that information came from. Celeste gripped the arms of her chair. A family member confirmed it. Aunt Lorraine? Celeste said nothing. She admitted there were no calls. She knew Mama entered treatment willingly. She also gave you journals that belonged to me. Murmurs spread across the ballroom. Celeste rose. You had 25 years to explain yourself. I did. And that silence was my mistake. But my silence did not give you permission to manufacture my confession. You sent her away. Vanessa lifted the recorder. Let Mama answer that. The publisher objected. Reporters shouted questions. Celeste demanded that the sound be turned off. Andre moved to the control table and handed the technician a digital copy he had prepared. A moment later, Elaine's voice filled the ballroom. Vanessa, you did not send me here. You saved my life. Celeste stopped moving. The recording continued. Elaine explained that she had asked for treatment. She told Celeste she had read every story. She told Vanessa not to disappear. By the time the tape ended, the room was silent. Celeste lowered herself into the chair. Why didn't you tell me? She asked. Vanessa's anger softened, but it did not vanish. Because Mama was ashamed of being ill, and she feared you would blame yourself. I thought keeping her secret was the same as protecting you. I was wrong. Celeste's eyes filled with tears. I spent my whole life believing she called for me. Because Lorraine let you believe it. You could have stopped me before the book. I tried to reach you. You wanted a confession, not a conversation. Celeste looked toward Andre. You knew about this? Not until yesterday, he said. But I knew enough to tell you Vanessa loved us, and I failed to say it clearly. The interviewer quietly removed her microphone. The celebration was over. Vanessa turned toward the cameras. My sister has the right to tell her childhood as she remembers it. She does not have the right to steal my journals, remove the sentences that contradict her story, or present invented events as fact. Tomorrow, my attorney will provide the publisher with the complete pages. Then she looked at Celeste. I did not come here to destroy you. I came because I am finished destroying myself to keep this family comfortable. Vanessa walked out without waiting for an apology. By morning, clips from the launch had spread across the country. Celeste's publisher suspended the book tour and announced an independent review. Several weeks later, the company withdrew the current edition after confirming that passages from Vanessa's journals had been altered and presented without permission. Celeste's reputation did not disappear overnight, but the story surrounding her changed. Interviews that once called her brave began asking why she had refused to verify the most damaging claims in her book. Aunt Lorraine issued a private apology. Vanessa returned it unopened. Andre began attending counseling. He visited Vanessa's shop every Saturday, not to demand forgiveness, but to repair shelves, carry boxes, and do whatever work she allowed him to do. Trust returned slowly through actions too small for cameras. Celeste did not contact Vanessa for 3 months. Then a package arrived. Inside were Vanessa's journals, the missing cedar chest key, and a handwritten letter. Celeste wrote that she had listened to Elaine's recording every day. She admitted that anger had become the foundation of her identity, and when evidence threatened that identity, she chose the version that kept her innocent. She did not ask Vanessa to forgive her. She asked for one meeting. Vanessa agreed. They met inside Elaine's room after closing. Celeste entered without makeup, cameras, or the polished confidence she wore on television. For a moment, the sisters simply looked at one another. I'm sorry, Celeste said. Vanessa waited. Not because the book was withdrawn. Not because people are angry with me. I'm sorry because you raised me, and I used your love as evidence against you. Vanessa's eyes filled, but she did not rescue Celeste from the discomfort. You made strangers hate me, she said. You took words I wrote on the hardest nights of my life and turned them into weapons. I know. I don't trust you. Celeste nodded. I know that too. And I cannot promise that we will ever be sisters in the way we were before Mama died. I'm not asking you to promise. Vanessa studied her sister's face and saw, beneath the damage, the 17-year-old girl who had arrived too late at the hospital and desperately needed someone to blame. One meeting, Vanessa said. Then we decide whether there will be another. It was not forgiveness. But it was honest, and honesty was where their family should have started 25 years earlier. 6 months later, Vanessa closed Elaine's room for renovations. People assumed the vandalism and scandal had forced her out. Instead, she knocked down the wall beside the fitting rooms and expanded into the vacant store next door. Above the entrance, she installed a new sign. Vanessa Reed, Design House. At 53, she enrolled in an evening design program in Atlanta. She was the oldest student in several classes and the only one who could alter a wedding gown without opening a textbook. Her first collection was inspired by unfinished garments, visible seams, repaired fabric, and golden thread running through places that had once been torn. She named it The Life I Did Not Lose. Andre attended the first showing and sat quietly in the front row. Celeste stood at the back. She had asked permission to come. When Vanessa stepped onto the runway, the room rose in applause. For one brief moment, she heard her mother's voice as clearly as she had on the recording. Make the dresses. Build the life you keep postponing. Vanessa looked toward Celeste. Her sister did not approach or attempt to turn the moment into another public performance. She simply placed one hand over her heart. Vanessa gave her a small nod. Some families are broken by one terrible secret. Others are broken by years of people calling silence love. Vanessa had spent most of her life protecting everyone except herself. In the end, the truth did more than clear her name. It returned her life to her. And she finally understood what her mother had tried to tell her all those years ago. Love may ask us to sacrifice, but it should never require us to disappear. If Vanessa's story moved you, tell us in the comments, could you forgive a sister who betrayed you this deeply, or would you walk away for good? Please like this video, subscribe to the Last Page Stories, and share this story with someone who needs to remember that it is never too late to reclaim the life they postponed. Thank you for staying with us until the very last page.